Hey, Peter.
Hey, what's up?
We've got questions today.
Well, you know what? That's great because I believe we have answers. I can't promise that, but that's part of the drama of this little podcast.
Yeah, let's find out. Let's find out.
Let's find out.
Yeah. I'm Adam Annis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear podcast.
Music advice coming at you.
Coming at you today, we have some questions that span the north and the south of the European continent. We have a question from Ireland and we have a question from Spain. And I thought we would take those today as they were pretty decent questions.
So fun, not fun fact, fun question, hopefully leading to fun fact.
Yeah.
Ireland, yes, of course, it's part of Europe. But I always feel like, I mean, it's its own island, right?
Yeah, the UK doesn't like to be considered part of Europe, as we found out.
Right. Well, be careful there, buddy, because Ireland is not part of the UK.
I know,
you know that?
I know. But they are part of the European continent.
Right. But isn't that like saying Hawaii is part of the North American continent?
No, it's a Pacific Rim island. I'm not sure what.
Pacific Rim?
Yeah,
Pacific
that whole.
Islands? Yeah.
We are not, I don't know if you can tell, listeners, but we are not experts in geography.
You'll hear it. A podcast about geography, explaining.
Two
We're
idiots.
jazz-splaining.
Two geography idiots.
Well, no, but
who have
first of
traveled
all,
to all these places, have no idea where they are.
And I misspoke. The Irish island, it is an island, right? Of
Correct,
course.
yeah.
Part of the island is part of the UK. Did you know that?
Yes.
Northern Ireland is part of the United Kingdom as it's currently constructed.
Shall we delve into the history, the political history of Ireland?
No, we shouldn't. But I mean, Northern Ireland is beautiful. Regular Ireland, Republic of Ireland is beautiful. I've had the pleasure of playing music. And
Republican Ireland.
Republic of, isn't it called? I don't know what the heck it is. Irish people. I love Irish people.
Yeah.
I really love Ireland, you know.
Yeah.
And I know both of us, I believe, have a little bit of Irish heritage in our families.
As do a lot of folks in America.
As do a lot of folks.
Yeah.
But it's just to say that I do always look at Ireland and, you know, UK and you know, those islands, the British Isles, as a little bit separate from Europe, but certainly part of Europe.
Awesome.
Their own thing.
Peter Martin's UK political corner, ladies and gentlemen.
So, but the important thing is that we're taking questions. And just a reminder, please leave us your questions. Although, full disclosure, we've been a little overwhelmed with the sheer volume.
Got a lot of them coming in. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah, we and these I haven't even heard yet. So this is going to be an interesting reaction.
Well, our first one is from Ireland. It's Niall, I think. Let's see how Niall pronounces it in his.
Okay.
Hello, Adam and Peter. Niall from Ireland here.
Niall.
I got a question about non-verbal communication when you're playing music with people. So, for example, I've seen people do things before. They hold like 3 fingers up at the end of a tune, and that means like we're going to do a 3-time ending. And in Irish music, which I play a bit of as well, there's a few things as well. Like you can kind of go hop when you're going to change key at the end, or when you're coming to the end of a group of tunes, you're going to swap to the next one. So I'm just wondering if there's any other non-verbal communication you can think of. Love the show. See you. Bye-bye.
Did not know that about Irish music. Thank you, Niall.
I've seen
Sorry
that
for
before
butchering
with
your
some
name.
Irish music.
I've heard that, but I didn't realize, I didn't put it together that they're changing keys with that.
Yeah, I didn't know
It's
that
good
either.
stuff.
That's super cool. Well, I think the ones that are, I don't know if they're commonly known, and they might even be a little bit regional, but like there's this, which I first learned from Betty Carter, which means, what does this mean to you?
It means we're ending.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, ending, but it also can mean layout.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. But apparently these things are
No,
not
see, I take that as like we're heading like coda. It looks like a
for
coda.
sure if you go up like that. Yeah. But sometimes this I've gotten from several vocalists. And then there's like this.
A lot of vocalists telling you to lay out.
Well, yeah. I'm like, is there a pattern there? Well, yeah, pitter patter. But then there's this kind of like turn around.
So we should, for our listeners, so the layout one, you made a fist.
I made a fist, but it was lower. And then you said up higher means last time.
Yeah, exactly. Up higher, we were taking out like a coda. And then now you're doing sort of the whirly bird, the swirling your finger.
Whirly bird?
Like a tornado. A tornado.
Tornado.
You know, like Peter has
like a lasso, a finger lasso.
Our podcast is verbal, at least the audio version of it. Yeah.
That's
so
right.
yeah, Peter's
It's
like
a little
making
hard
a
to show
finger
non-verbal.
lasso. YouTube, you're getting it, right? That means we're going around again.
Yeah.
Right.
But it could also mean like turn around. Like vamp on a turnaround.
Yeah.
And then this one, I like this one, which is like pointing forwards, which is almost like the NAM point, which is a little different. But it's different. That's like take it out, like end
Take it out. Yeah, that's like, so he's
Coda.
making the finger of like a crossing a bridge or something.
Yeah, bridge over troubled water.
That's a very
Paul
you
Simon.
one. Yeah, the NAM point one. There's also, I find there's a whole language with eyebrows in
Yeah.
jazz. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Really? You're gonna?
here
do
we
that?
go. It's a here we go. You know what I mean?
Go,
Like,
here we go, yo.
taking it, maybe like that means like we're switching sections, or
Yeah.
like here come the hits.
Or you don't know what's
remember,
about to happen.
You remember these hits that we rehearsed right
You'll
before the
hear
gig? Yeah. There's that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
And these are really almost more like, I mean, they're communications, nonverbal. They're almost like signals.
Yeah.
Specific signals, which is what he was talking about with the three fingers. Now, of course, Ahmad Jamal has had, and I'm sure he still has, a number of different specific to his trio or his group signals, like numbering, but they're always, well, mostly numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, which might go to specific sections and maybe even different keys and stuff. I'm not even sure. I've seen him do them a bunch, but I've never.
Yeah.
I'm always so enthralled by his playing. I never paid attention to what they specifically do, but I know talking to some of his musicians, sidemen, side women, they talk about like what how you have to kind of remember those, but they're specific to the arrangements. I think getting into nonverbal communications that aren't specific hand signals, that jazz musicians and like kind of improvised music in general does really well. And maybe this is some of the overlap with, Irish music, some old timey music, things that are improvised kind of. And that, well, like, so an example would be like Miles Davis just turning with his horn, turning towards to the drummer or a certain musician on stage. He was very good at non-verbally communicating, like, we're going to play something together. That, I don't know, it's like, even without knowing, and I doubt he ever specifically said what it was more of a demonstration in the moment with the musicians. We could have Kenny Garrett talk about this, because he would physically kind of come over,
Yeah.
turn towards, and then if you came over, then it was an engagement opportunity for that, And then what about nonverbal communication? Talk about Miles. Actually, now I'm seeing Miles is a master. of
No,
this.
yeah, but
when he come on and cut off Herbie's solo, that's
right.
pretty nonverbally
there's
communicating.
Just turning to someone as you're ending your solo is a nonverbal communication, like you're next. Like, so
Yeah.
if you think about, even at the piano, if you're ending your solo, and you sort of lean towards the bass
Right.
player, they know who's next. Or you lean towards the horn player, they know to take
So if you
it.
lean towards the bass player, it's like that's also a signal for the audience to start talking. during
Yeah,
the bass
yeah,
solo.
exactly. But then there are, think about, there's even musical nonverbal communication. Like
Well,
if
I was
were
gonna say, I think these are the
if
biggest.
I were to do this, Peter, what would you do? Yeah, that's a musical signal, right? Or if I were to do like, what would you think? What would you think would happen next after that?
solo break.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, that was just an arbitrary rhythm, but like the repeated rhythm of it,
Yeah.
and sort of the spirit of it is a communication.
And what about if
between-
I did this? What's next?
back down?
Right.
Yeah.
And then what about this? Step up maybe a little bit. Like vamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, for improvised jazz music, the musical cues are probably the most used, and in terms of for actual communication and
Yeah,
changing
yeah.
things, extending things, shortening
sure.
things, more than the like. Sometimes I'll look at like a really locked in trio or quartet
Yeah.
or big band, and like there's more musical cues normally
Totally.
going on than actual hand cues or eye cues.
You know who's really, where you could really see this every week is on Emmett's Monday thing. Because Emmett is such a student of these kinds of things. Like you see this with his trio and when he has guests as well. Total nonverbal cues, tons of eyebrow raises and looks and smiles. But also Emmett has a ton of musical cues on all that, like, that kind of thing, where they
Right.
all hit together, all these rhythmic language cues, essentially.
Yeah, and then there's some ones I'm thinking too are
Emmett Cohen, for those who don't know.
yeah. So there's ones that are really sort of posture based, almost like sometimes you're playing and someone like there's something that's a little bit incongruent or a little bit there needs to be a little bit more attention to detail, like the leader, and the leader, especially like with a trio or a smaller group, can be anybody at different times. A lot of times the drummer kind of becomes like the de facto if they're really good. But like I'm thinking of Greg Hutchinson, he's so good at this. He'll be like swinging, and sometimes he'll just do a little thing with posture, and like that's a signal to be like, let's make sure we really lock in the time or the form or something. So there can be that kind of arbiter of almost thinking of it as like an arbiter of like a quality control thing.
Right.
Like, come on, it's like the managers going around at the fast food restaurant, clean up that little station.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
thing. And that's done by posture because you have to do it. Well, yeah, the side eye would be going kind of next level, with that.
Well, what about posture too, or just body language? Like if I were to start something off like this.
Yeah. Shoegazing?
That's not really inviting you to play along
No,
with me.
no.
But if I were to start something like this, right? Whatever, you're going to come in. I'm smiling at you. I'm kind of bouncing in my seat, like being like, hey, let's dance. You know what I mean? Like that invites the rest of the band. All that kind of stuff. I mean, by the way, Niall, none of this is talked about or anything. This is just like what kind of humans do, right?
Yeah, and it's good. I think too because the music has been international for so long. Like it's a good thing. Like you think about even like symphony orchestras are like this too. A lot of athletics are like this, where you've got people that don't always all speak the language, and English we always think of as like the de facto kind of meeting point, for music, this kind of music and whatever. But it's not always. So the verbal stuff, a lot of times, just even if if English is not their first language, or you're not using the same terminology that you do in your region or city or whatever, these kinds of musical communications, nonverbal, posture, hand signal stuff can become very important because it's more universal.
Yeah.
It's more inclusive.
All right, we have another question. Good stuff. By the way, we're
multi?
Yeah, we're brought to you today by
going
Open
Doppio.
Studio. Go to openstudiojazz.com. We're going to do 2 questions today because we have a little time.
Yeah.
This is from Fernando.
Hi, Peter and Adam. It's Fernando, a piano and trumpet player from Spain. I'm really, really happy to talk to you. You make me very, very happy always. My question is a little bit controversial.
Ooh.
Why are there so few women in jazz? For example, in one of my big bands, there are sometimes 2, 1, or even 0 women. And that's a fact that I have almost never realized because for me, I only see musicians, no matter the gender. But it's actually a matter of fact. It's true that sometimes in jam sessions, when a woman climbs up to the scenario, 50% of the time it is as a singer, which could be kind of a little bit cliche. But when she's an instrumentalist, everybody respects her and chills, and there is no difference, actually. I have read that maybe in the next level of professionalism, women may face more difficulties or receive less confidence for making gigs or release records. I don't know. But also I have read that from a neurological point of view, at least in a macrostatistical sense, the adaptation of the human brain after millions of years has led to make males more prone to take risks and women more prone to have organizational skills.
Okay, that's bullshit right there. I mean, I'm no scientist, but let's keep going.
Yeah.
We just had to call that out a little bit,
Yeah.
I think.
I don't know if it has
Cite your
something to do
sources.
with jazz being a more chaotic or let's say more risky side of the music. I don't really know the answer, but I would be very happy. Send you my love from Spain.
Thanks, Fernando. Yeah, so that last part is probably like that's where...
Well, I think we have to be careful when, I mean, it's fine to have different viewpoints, but when we say like it's been studied or whatever, like has that, it's kind of like, I heard a study that says if you drink a can of Coca-Cola every morning and then fast the rest of the day, you'll get healthier. So just because you say it, like, where's the study? Where do you show that?
Yeah.
I think that plus it's just too many great, incredible female artists, women, specifically jazz musicians, women jazz. I mean, that let's talk about them. That just refutes that. We don't need to study or whatever. But thank you, Fernando, for the question too. We don't want to be like, oh, just because we don't agree with you on part of this, let's talk about it. Let's have an open dialogue on this.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about it even in our own. We should sort of call ourselves out here on some stuff, Peter. Like, when we made our list of the 7 greatest pianists of the silent generation, we purposely try to find women to include in this in these things that we are already fans of and make sure that that's representation. But there isn't as much representation from especially those eras. as you have now, and I'm sure we'll have more in the future as sort of the doors opening wider and wider.
I agree, but don't you think that, like, considering how much oppression of women in
100%.
music and stuff, that it's amazing how many there were, and really amazing how many there are now. Like how many obstacles
100%
that they've had to get over. It's pretty amazing.
The answer to Fernando's question is misogyny and the patriarchy. That's 100% why there might not be as many women in your big band as there are men.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you why. Since a little bit of a door has cracked open for women in jazz, they are barreling through and like crushing it in the last, say, 20, 30 years, when just a little bit more opportunity, still not the same kind of expectations or opportunities that most men have who come into the music. And they still face a ton of discrimination and pushback and doubt. And I mean, anytime, honestly, just from my own experience here at Open Studio, anytime I've made a video about a great who is a woman, the comment section is a dumpster fire of misogyny and, you know, just a whole bunch of bullshit.
I mean, that comes out of YouTube
but it's
comments, like the insecurity.
It's so predictable that it's disgusting. You know what I mean? So, I mean, even on this video, we're going to get comments about that kind of thing. That's going to be terrible. And this is a kind of a piddly video that we'll make about on our channel for this, you know, with our limited resources to talk about it. But like, honestly, it is amazing to see what's happening, and our daughters will have so many more amazing players to look up to than we had when we were female players to look up to than we were when we were kids, for sure.
Right. And so, I mean, and if you think to the pioneers, you talk about Lil Hardin, you talk about, you know, Sarah Vaughan, Nina Simone, Mary Lou Williams. I mean, all the greats, the great lineage of that. They really did the amazing work, but most importantly, just provided amazing music and artistry, just like the men. And so they've been part of the fabric of this music, even with the discrimination that's always been there. But nowadays, with there being a little bit less, still so much work to do, and it feels like, no, it doesn't feel like jazz is behind most other areas in terms of inclusivity, I think, specifically to this issue with women. I think
totally agree.
It continues to be a problem. You know, through the great work of folks like Terry Lynn Carrington up at Berkeley.
Amazing.
You know, but mainly her great work at this that she's been doing for years as a writer, as a producer, as a drummer. So, but also paving the way with her music, but now also paving the way with her words, with the wonderful, you know, book that she just published of female composers, of getting that music out there, not as like, I mean, just as a service to all of us for great repertoire that needs and wants to be heard, and it's going to help us all. But then Alexis Tarantino, Anat Cohen, Camille Thurman. I mean, there's so many artists that we need to just talk about and celebrate, and they are being celebrated and getting out there, which is great. That's just like, let's just put the spotlight on them.
Well, I mean, but it's even like at this point, you can't list all of it because there's too many. It's become just incredible to watch it change so rapidly, and like any kind of you know, misogynistic viewpoint about if it's possible is complete trash at this point. Like, it's completely proven wrong.
And I mean, look, the thing is just to put the spotlight and let the pioneers, you're talking about somebody like Esperanza Spalding, like, because of like that, just her being able to have her music heard and for her to be seen, obviously the Grammy and this kind of notoriety, but just her amazing musicianship and creativity and leadership as an artist, like that opens the door for women to look at and be, wow, I want to do that. I can do that. Like, so those kinds of things, we need to really continue that work, because that's always how the thing starts to open, not us up here saying we're going to be the gatekeepers for this, or the record companies, or any of the YouTube, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to happen the way it happens. Luckily, you know, like I said, my daughter is going to have a lot more women to look up to as players than I would have had when I was her age, and that's going to make for more and more players, and more players. And
I mean, Fernando brings up the issue about vocalists and stuff, and like, this is like what we don't want to do, I think, is to not celebrate vocalists as well. I mean, you know, have women vocalists in jazz had an outsized, been an outsized force since the history of this music? I think so. Not to say that there haven't been great male, but I mean, like, they have owned that space in a lot of ways, which is like a really cool
but in a lot
thing.
of ways, the vocalists were the only ones encouraged.
Exactly.
The only women encouraged to.
So if that had been encouraged across the board,
Yeah.
think about how much we all lost. Like, because that's the thing, I think, with diversity in general. And this is a really comfortable area for us to get into and talk about, right? Diversity and equity, inclusion.
No. It's always weird for two white guys to talk about any of this. But, the white guys got to talk about this stuff amongst ourselves as well,
Yeah.
even. Or else nothing really changes amongst us. You know
I
what I'm
was going to
saying?
say that I think I think it's okay for us to be, like, let's be selfish about this. Like, the whole thing of including and encouraging others to be involved, everybody involved in something, makes this better for everybody, including us. It makes it more interesting when you don't have those voices that were shut down or never got a chance to blossom. Let all these flowers. This is not, like, it always goes with the whole growth mindset, and like there's one pie, and it always comes from a place of fear when we say we're not going to include a type of person or a tribe of people or a race of people or a gender or ethnicity or whatever. That always comes from the mindset of, like, I got to have mine, me and my people have to have mine. And when you start to realize and really think of, like, it being an expansive thing and there being plenty of space, and that these wonderful voices, everybody's voice is having the potential to be heard, that helps us all. And it's just as fun and more interesting because we get to be entertained and edified and exalted by these voices. So
hire more women.
Huh?
Go hear more women play.
Yeah. I mean, Anat Cohen, because, she's a friend of the pod, obviously, Open Studio, but because she's one of my favorite artists over the past 10 plus years, and, like, with her recorded output and getting to hear her live, getting to play with her some and whatever, I couldn't imagine what my life would be like without that. So I'm so grateful that when she was coming up, that her voice wasn't stamped out, that her dream of, the same connection like we all have, like when you hear this music, like, wow, I want to be part of that.
Yeah.
And then, can you imagine being in a position where it's like, no, you can't be part of that,
Yeah.
So we solved it.
We didn't solve
No, thank you, Fernando, for the
anything.
question. And look, the other thing is, too, like, let's not come down on people for be like, I know a lot of people could listen to this question and be like, oh, that's misogynist, that's whatever. And you know what? Maybe it is. That's way
there's no
above
reason
my
to
pay.
shame the questioning of it. The questioning of it is the only way real change happens.
Thank you for
Even
your
if
honest.
our
thank you for being honest
conversation,
about it,
and our conversation probably misses the mark on several areas as well about this too, because we can only
not
do it
mine,
from
but maybe yours.
our myopic perspective here. But just to keeping it
Keep
on
the
our
dialogue open.
keeping it on your mind, whether that's any of these issues. That,
Caleb looks nervous over there, though. He does look a little nervous. That's okay.
We're all a little nervous at talking about it, but
No, but talking about it is important. Like,
it is.
I don't
It's
like
the only way
this
to
trend.
normalize it.
I don't like a trend a little bit to be like, these people can't talk about this, these people can't. You're free to say that we're wrong and to flame us or whatever, but everybody can talk about this. Nobody has to talk about it. But appreciate the question, Fernando. And then the other thing is, we got to understand, like, everybody comes from where they come from. It's like, that's some jive ass shit. Like, and look, jazz musicians have invented some good terms like jive ass shit. To be like, well, you shouldn't do that. You don't know anything about where anybody is. Like, the world is not the same everywhere. Okay,
It's true.
So, like, I like to at least come from a place of, like, hoping that people are going to listen and want to come together on these different things. And you don't have to see eye to eye on everything, but you do. I mean, look, the product, the what do they say? The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
Like, with all these wonderful Camille Thurman. I mean, I know she's kind of getting more known, but I mean, I've always loved her playing and, like, her spirit, and I got a chance to play with her a little bit. Not that validates, but when you're close to somebody and then you really get the chance to hear that.
I played with her right before the pandemic, and I could not believe it.
Yeah.
How powerful she is.
Yeah.
On the instrument.
So, I mean, these things are
it's
opening
a
up. Let's
crime
celebrate.
that she's not more celebrated.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that good work. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, nailed it.
You'll hear it.